first of all, I'd like to just, he's not here, but I'd like to say a big thank you to Leland for that inspirational speech. It's just been really amazing to hear him talk and hear the support that he's giving towards education. And it really helps our cause for Lego as well. So give him a round of applause. Okay, so I'd like to talk to you about how this whole thing started. It's about a year ago, or no, about 2 years ago now. In our product Lego City, where we design everyday stuff you see, from police to fire to like harbour, all that stuff. And we thought about what's the next thing we do. And historically, we've done space lineups such as Space Shuttle Launchpad in the 90s and stuff like that, but we haven't done it for a while. So we decided we'd give it a go again. And we brought the models, like we built some models and we brought them and tested them with kids. The kids absolutely loved it. So we went ahead and made the product line. And while we were developing it, like personally, I learned so much about space that I didn't know. And when I was a kid, I was a big fan of space and space travel and all that. But I've been kind of out of touch with it. And just learning about the International Space Station and like all the activities going on up there and just all about the space shuttle and stuff, I learned a lot. And I was wondering, so like, how much do the kids really know about that? So we talked about contacting NASA and seeing where they're going to be interested in doing a collaboration with us so we could help start some educational outreach. So we contacted them. NASA were really interested, and that was great for us. And it's not just people like Leland who are really interested in outreach, and it's all this STEM education to get like kids really interested in space and inspire a new generation of space travelers, basically, of scientists, of engineers. So we decided to go ahead with this and to see what models we could do, what things we could do in space, and to send a payload of Lego up to the International Space Station. So we had our Lego City Space Shuttle, and we thought we'd like to send this up because it's the most iconic model that kids know, and to really learn about it in space. And we started to look into some interesting facts about it. We found out that, say, for instance, the payload bay is the size of a school bus. So we made a little Lego school bus which will fit into the payload bay. I don't have it right now, but we have a school bus we can fit in the payload bay. And we'll have the crew members on board the space station to show kids this. So we decided what else could we do. When we're developing products for kids on the market, we have to keep it really simple and iconic. So we have one set with a rocket, one with a space shuttle, one with a small satellite launch, and one with a lunar rover. But for this educational program in space, we decided to push it a little bit more and to teach kids more about like models for the astronauts we talk about. So we wanted to teach kids about how it is in space, how an astronaut lives there, what's it like out there, and keep it very, very simple. We wanted to get the widest range of kids, but for what we do best in Lego City is kids aged 5 to 12 years old. And for kids like that, like doing like complicated experiments wasn't really our area of expertise. So we took on board Lego Education as well, who will appeal to older kids in schools. And they've developed whole curriculums around this. So I can, for instance, show you, they have this model, which is a hammer. And I'll put down the mic and show you for a second. What this does, you have a little axle in the middle. When you put the hammer, it hammers it down into the model. So we thought, imagine to send this to space and to see what happens. what's going to happen is going to just load away. So as part of the educational program, LEGO Education have been developing a curriculum all around these models. So that, for instance, okay, you see in space that the hammer just floats away. So what do? You have to develop some kind of mechanism so that the hammer will stay and will go up and down. So it's all about like teaching the kids about life in space and microgravity and what's happening up there and what are the consequences on Earth, what are the differences. One other model, which is, we made a huge model of the International Space Station, which is one of the first models which will be built, hopefully, during the Endeavour's stay up in space. And this model, because it's so huge and the solar panels, the solar arrays stretch out all above the top of the model, it can't even support itself on Earth. So I designed this model and I built it, and I could almost never put it together unless I had 4 people helping me to connect all the solar arrays. But normally when we're developing a product, we would not be able to do this because it's what we say an illegal build because the model's going to fall apart. But in microgravity, it doesn't matter because it's floating in space. And that's something we really wanted to show. We really wanted to keep this in there because that's what it's like on the real space station. The real space station can't support itself. And our LEGO space station can't support itself on Earth. But when it's floating in space, then it works. So we also went and we developed some other models which are like interior sections from the space station. So we have some experiment benches here. We have the exercise area, the treadmill, weightlifting. We have a Hubble telescope and about 5 other satellites. We did the satellites once because, again, we wanted to teach young kids, like from ages 5 to 12, about just very simple things about life in space. And they know there's satellites up there, but they don't know what to do. So we made 6 replicas of real-life satellites, such as a radar satellite, a GPS satellite, a weather one. And it's just like the crew will build these satellites up in space and literally just talk about them. To say that here you have the solar panels and you have the radar dish, and just show the key points and the key areas of interest to teach kids what these models actually do in real life. The same goes for the space shuttle. The reason we wanted to send this up, we wanted to show kids icons, such as the motors at the back. You need motors, you need like rocket motors on a spacecraft so it can propel itself. It's a very simple principle. It's something that really young kids can grasp. They need a big engine, so we want to show that. Also, it's a cargo carrier and has a cargo bay. So we wanted to show the Canadian Army and just tell kids that we have this in the space lane. It's needed to transfer satellites out into space, transfer cargo onto the International Space Station. Let me see. Yeah, what we also wanted to show you is how we're going to build these models up in space. This is an example of one of the building guides the crew will have up there. They're not our traditional building guides you will see, which are animated and cartoon style. What we have here is bespoke ones which we made because the models, for the most part, will be glued in chunks. Because you're going to have thousands of Lego bricks floating around in the space station, you know where you are. So, say for instance, this model will be just like the cockpit will be one section, the wings will be one section, the tail will be one section. So, for this one, we have 14 different steps of how to assemble for the kit. course, we also want to show how it is to build a space. So we are taking a very small satellite, and this is a satellite that we are giving away as a promotional item, free for kids as well. So the kids will have this satellite, and the crew on the space station will have the satellite. And they will have a building race. So we're going to have video downloads for all of these activities on a website called legospace.com. And on these videos, for instance, we'll see the crew building the satellite, and it'll be timed. And then the kids in school or at home will build a satellite and time themselves to see what are the differences, while the crew narrates like how it is to build, what is the difficulties there. And then at a later stage, we're taking up Lego Mindstorms, which, I don't know if you know this, but they're very, very complex robotic system. So we've also developed specific Mindstorms models. Pretty windy outside. We've also developed specific Mindstorms models, which will be going up at a later stage, which we're calling phase 2. And we're going to have another set of curriculum, especially for this one. So I think that pretty much sums up what we're doing. And we really want to focus basically on teaching kids of all ages about life in space, about space travel, and just to inspire a new generation of scientists and astronauts. So like for like these simple models, we're just showing the icons just to get really young kids involved, to spark that interest, because we know they have an interest. And I know, like, you guys, if you had a chance when you were really young for your kids to learn through Lego rather than learn through books and through writing, I'm sure you'd like to do that, right? So that's what we want to do. We know that this is something where we can engage the kids and to really teach them about space in a simple and fun way, and then take it into the schools when they're like through the older kids, taking it to schools and to like just make it fun to learn about all this. So yeah, that sums it up. Any questions?
No, I thought that the astronauts had a cool job playing you. Very good.
Hi, I'm from San Diego and right next to Legoland. Are any of your creations at Legoland?
No, Legoland is kind of run as a separate entity. So what I work on personally is the models that you'll see in the shops. So I've done some of the models on the space range, and I spend a lot of my time recently working on the models for the space station. So that's been my job.
Hi, I'm Trisha. I think Lego designer is probably the coolest job. So that's awesome. And I heard a legend about the first Lego designer was somebody who, maybe not the first Lego designer, but somebody who met somebody on an airplane from Lego and said, I want to design stuff for you. And they said, okay, you can build a perfect sphere out of Lego bricks. You can have a job. And this guy did it. I don't know if that's true. Do you know anything about that?
I haven't heard that story, but if you made a perfect sphere, I think you deserve it.
Hi, I'm Jose Lopez, J. Lopez 255. I grew up about a half mile away from your Lego complex over in Enfield, Connecticut. Are you designing anything over there for NASA? Or any designs came up from over there?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
From Enfield, Connecticut?
Yes.
Enfield, Connecticut.
Sorry, could you?
Oh, these designs came from there.
No, most of the designs came from Billund in Denmark, which is where I'm based and where I work. But we have Lego Education North America, and we have the president of Lego Education, Steph Eternity, just over there. And Lego Education North America have been developing the curriculums, and they've been very involved. And actually, I must mention in the visitor complex, for all this week, we've had a huge Lego building event where kids can go in and they can just build models inspired for space. And that's been run through Lego Education North America, and they've done a fantastic job. To your right.
Kevin, I've been the Lego Star Wars sets for about 10 years, and the Lego Star Destroyer is a great set, it's a meter long,
There's actually a spatial model which came out last year. It's not a meter. It's much bigger than this one, and it's like very, very detailed. Really awesome model. That's probably the biggest one to do.
Two questions actually. Well, one's more of a comment. The sphere thing. I think that was The Pursuit of Happiness, starring Will Smith, where he was riding on the bus and he was like, "Hey, give me a job. I need a job." And the guy was like, "Well, I'll give you a job and you can solve this Rubik's Cube. It's making my kid crazy." I was like, "Okay, well, all right. Here, give me a job." That could have been the way that developed. And then my question is, when you put Legos together, do you use glue or do you just trust the locking mechanism?
For the space models.
Yeah.
Some of the models are glued because I guess when that goes off the date, there's going to be a lot of shaking and vibrating. So we have to be. The building guys are pretty well covered, but to be safe, we glue some of the sections.
I've seen those big C-3POs and clone troopers in Toys R Us that are made out of Lego, and I just assumed that they were rubber cemented or something.
Yeah, they are too. Kids like to climb on top of them.
At the real Lisa Bain, any plans for Legos meetup?
I guess it sounds like you guys want it. This is my first meetup, and I'm completely new to this. I've had an account, but I've never even tweeted.
So what's your account?
My account is Daire, McCabe, which is my name. It's very imaginative. Yeah, I guess I better start getting on this Twitter thing.
Hi there, Stephanie Smith from Jet Propulsion Laboratory at NASA JPL. We're huge fans of the Spirit and Opportunity rover sets that they other plans in there as well. And we want to know, are there any plans in the works for the Mars Curiosity rover set? This is the next Mars rover, the one that launches this fall. She's huge. It has a rock vaporizing laser on her head.
I haven't heard plans, to be honest, but what we have done is we've made a Spirit and Opportunity rover, which we made a ton of models which we sent to NASA to go off on the Endeavour into space, but we had to cut a lot of them due to timing constraints with operations in space. We didn't want to take too much of their time. But we had a set of rovers, and we had different rockets, like replicas of the Soyuz area, the new lunar rover concept for 2022 or whenever, and then the Spirit and Opportunity. They didn't make it up into the kit for space, but we will have on LegoSpace.com, we're going to have a section with all of these models. So everybody will still get to see them, and with like fact sheets so kids can learn about all the facts about them. And also the models that are going into space will be there with all the fact sheets too. So we have no plans to make these sets, but if we get enough people asking, maybe we'll consider it.
Oh, here. So when you were working with NASA and the astronauts to put these together in space, do you know if they argued over who would be able to get to do it?
Well, like from the very beginning, we had Katie Coleman, who is in space right now. She has shown like huge interest in this, and this is one of the reasons where we really got this project moving was Katie. And I like to say big thanks to Katie for that. So like I went over to Houston and I got to meet Katie, and she was so enthusiastic because she was going to bring Lego to space anyway because her son is using it. So she's been really looking forward to this, and since the launch has been delayed a little, we were worried if she wasn't going to get to do it. But she said that hopefully she'll be able to do it in the next week when the Endeavour is up there, so let's hope for that. And we also have several astronauts showing a lot of interest, such as Don Pettit, who I hear is an absolute genius on many levels, and he's been working on with the educational models and the Mindstorms models, and he's been coming up with like new ways to use them. He's like thinking of sometimes throwing away our recommendations and just building his own crazy stuff. So we completely support that if he wants to do it.
Hi, I'm Sarah. About half of my daily job is teaching Mindstorms, and I know my kids are going to want to know if you're going to release any of the robotics experiments in the Mindstorms form so that they can be doing it along with.
Yeah, that's kind of what's going to happen. Is the Mindstorms models are being built from one of the LEGO education kits, which are available to schools. So all the bricks will be there, and the kids will be able to build.
Will there
models.
be directions for the?
There will be directions. There will be a whole curriculum based around this. So the kids will be able to build what the astronauts are building.
Hi, 2 questions. My kids have just dumped their Legos on the giant blanket in the living room. I'm wondering, like, when you're designing, do you have like a drawer of all the white 2-dot calls and all the? And then second question would be like, is there something like Dream Build that like if you won the Lego Build lottery you could build? What would that be?
The first question is yes, we have like on my desk, which is covered in a big pile of Lego bricks. We have about a 6-meter set of drawers just behind us with like all the bricks pretty much. And if we're not in there, we have a stock room, which is huge, and it's got walls of Lego, and we can walk down around there and just pick up handfuls of bricks. It's pretty awesome. The first time I went down there, I was like, and then in answer to your second question, well, the space station model, which flew over. A lot of people have been asking for this since it's been shown online, and I had great fun making it, and I'd love to make it. We have no plans to make it because just so you can get it be stable is a big challenge. But yeah, I guess right now, the way I'm thinking right now, I'd do that if I could do manage it.
We're out of time for questions. Thanks, Daire. Okay, this is our last speaker for a while, and then we're going to take